Hi, I'm Eleanor Lamb with MeriTalk. I'm here with Doug Bourgeois, Managing Director of Federal Technology Strategy and Architecture at Deloitte. Doug, thank you for being with me.
Thank you.
Doug, from your perspective as a member of the private sector, what guidance could you give to federal leaders who are running the FedRAMP certification program?
Well, the first thing that I would say is I applaud their efforts, and I would encourage them to continue to focus on streamlining the process and look for ways to make it faster and more economical for both the service providers and for the agencies to get through the process. The work that they've done recently, in particular with FedRAMP Accelerate, has been spot on, and they need to continue on that. And so along those lines, I would say that they need to take a bigger picture approach, continue to focus on taking redundancy out of the process and streamlining it to make it simpler to go through the process. And that means focusing on breaking down the barriers of reciprocity so that one agency can accept most or a lot of the features of another agency's ATO, and then looking for, from a service provider's perspective, where the service provider might already have gone through an independent review of different types of controls, seeing how much of that can be accepted into the FedRAMP process rather than examining those controls. And then finally, looking for ways to improve the standards and consistency from the 3 PAO independent assessors.
Okay. Now, on the flip side of that, what advice would you share with companies to encourage them to earn their FedRAMP certification?
Yeah, and this one is a tough one because my experience with a lot of companies that are considering going through FedRAMP, many of them might be looking at getting into the federal market overall. They might not have a lot of experience with working in the federal market, and they're looking at it from a business investment standpoint. And I think there's a lack of understanding of how to navigate through some of these government processes such as FedRAMP, and it kind of scares them off a little bit because many of these companies aren't headquartered anywhere near the DC area. They might not have done business with the federal government, but I think it's become a substantial hindrance to adoption, particularly at the SaaS or application level. And I think as the SaaS providers, many of them are small companies and they're just coming up and beginning to scale, they really need to look at it in terms of how it can help their business not only make money now, which is of course important, but be more globally accepted, because I think FedRAMP in particular is becoming a global phenomenon, and other countries are looking to the approach and seeing how they can adopt what's been done here from the pioneering work that's been done over the last several years. And I think they need to look at it from that vantage point. It really opens up a really large market, but also has global benefits that maybe they aren't thinking about when they look at their business case.
Indeed, and as well as benefits at the state and local level, which
absolutely, yeah, exactly. Those are even more tangible and maybe more immediate than kind of the global implications that I was talking about.
Oh yes. Now, Congressman Will Hurd's Modernizing Government Technology Act recently passed the House. How will this piece of legislation affect the federal cloud landscape?
Yeah, I think this is a really solid bill as an add-on to extend and maybe even continue to build on the foundation of what FITARA has done. I think in general, it's encouraging the growth of both cloud computing and shared services across the federal government, but doing so with a mindset towards solving a root core problem, which is lack of modernization around the technology environment in the government. And I think it really does a good job of looking at how to provide proper incentives for that, how to provide the mechanisms for it to be easier, to modernize, and will I think accelerate the growth of cloud computing in the federal government. And I think cloud is at a transition point, both from an infrastructure perspective and a platform perspective. I think the government is ready to accelerate to the next level, and I think this type of bill legislation is going to help make that happen and speed it up.
Yes, hopefully along the same vein as FITARA, the next scorecard of which will be out next week, which is interesting to see. Doug Bourgeois, thank you for being with me.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching.